In this video, we are going to do an overview of a mech with one of the most striking designs in the original launch of Battletech during the 1980s. Destined, unfortunately, to become one of the unseen, this mech would be missed by many players for decades despite the favor so many felt for it. Once redesigned by Catalyst Game Labs in its new shape, but most definitely in the spirit of the original design, this mech would experience a resurgence in recent years from various new depictions both in printed media and on the tabletop. The mech we're talking about is of course Lang Industries' Shadowhawk. A medium mech weighing in at 55 tons, the Shadowhawk is one of the original poster boys of the setting, and as a result has a major following. In the setting, it was introduced officially in 2550, but in reality it had a launch prior, but suffered major problems immediately upon its deployment, resulting in the Shadowhawk needing to be recalled almost immediately in order to fix the faulty armor plating. This flaw, prior to being fixed, had armor plates internally damaging the myomers that controlled the mech's movement, which would have undesirable results, as one may imagine. With this flaw being fixed, the Shadowhawk would go back into production. Designed to be able to have a diverse level of speed, armor, and weapons, the Shadowhawk succeeds in delivering on two of these fronts, though in most of the pre-late Star League era technology variants, I would argue it dramatically fails on the front of firepower, even if it can function in some capacity at all ranges. The real tragedy is, the Shadowhawk is genuinely grand and elegant in its appearance, but most of its variants, throughout most of its history, are to be frank death traps for their pilots, often unable to outfight any of their peers, and left dangerously exposed by not being sufficiently fast enough to escape their wrath. The results of this are, on the tabletop, often a bloody toll is taken on their part. Until much later technological advancements, the SHD series is a very tragic machine, especially for those who are brave enough to pilot it. It should have been the totem mech for the now departed clan Widowmaker, as it would have achieved that objective significantly more than the clan could have ever hoped to have, at least until its later generation models, where this no longer applies. The SHD-2H is the most common variant of the Shadowhawk during the Star League and Succession Wars. Its best trait is its 275 Cortex Standard Fusion engine, which weighs in at 15.5 tons. This engine is both a blessing and a curse. The Shadowhawk's maximum speed as a result of this engine is 86.4 km per hour, giving it 8 movement points on the tabletop game. This allows it to move at a faster rate in order to keep up with light and medium formations, and provide what support it can. It also means against slower formations it may have a chance to escape heavy fighting, should it find itself engaging with anything more capable than itself on the battlefield. It has the ability to jump 90 meters, which is 60 meters shorter than its maximum. This allows it to move 3 movement points. Frankly put, the jumping ability is not adequate to what the SHD needs, and isn't used frequently barring niche situations, though it may be good to have when needed to escape a serious problem under the right circumstances. The engine itself, though impressive, as mentioned prior, is a very heavy item in the mech, which means that it has a reduced capacity for everything else in the machine. For Heatsinks, the SHD-2H is well served, as its weapon systems don't generate enough heat to put it in jeopardy of overheating. Unfortunately, this compliment is both genuine and backhanded in equal measure. For its offensive capabilities, the Shadowhawk's real problems begin to expose themselves. For its primary weapon system, the SHD-2H comes armed with an Armstrong J11 autocannon, reflected as an AC-5 class autocannon. This being the main weapon isn't itself an issue, as many mechs which are of reasonable quality use an AC-5. The problem the SHD has is that there is nothing beyond this to meaningfully focus on a single range, or to increase its damage to a sufficient degree. It backs up its AC-5 with a Holly long-range missile system with 5 tubes, or an LRM-5, as well as a Holly short-range missile pack with 2 tubes, or an SRM-2. To add to this inadequacy, its best secondary weapon is a single Martel Model 5 medium laser. Functionally speaking, the SHD-2H's weapon systems make it undergunned compared to almost all of its counterparts in every range. While it can participate at every range, which is impressive for a medium mech, that participation is, in a word, unreliable, and unfit for most combat situations against peer adversaries. Though it is comparatively armed in some respects to, say, the Vindicator's damage is concentrated by the PPC it carries, making it better able to punch holes in the target, while the SHD's attacks are spread out, and are mostly unreliable. The Shadowhawk's inability to commit to one range is its greatest weakness, as its jack-of-all-trades approach can't work with the limited tonnage it has available to dedicate towards its weapons, at least in my view. The next best thing about the Shadowhawk it has going for it is its protection. With 9.5 tons of armor, it is in fact well protected, but surely it has to be. Without the ability to jump far enough to gain sufficient movement bonuses, it depends on running speeds to obscure incoming fire. In addition to this, it has 3 tons of ammunition on board, and its weapons are of low volume, meaning that these sets of ammunition will take a great deal of time to expend. This ammunition exists in every single one of the SHD-2H's torsos, meaning if the armor fails for any reason, it can quickly be exposed to a mech-ending explosion. As harsh as it may sound, and I know there will be some of the audience who disagree with me, I see this mech as doing nothing well, not even to the lowest bar of acceptability. Its role at best is to bully mechs significantly lighter than itself, rather than for its core original purpose, which was to back up recon units, to be a part of attack formations, or fill any role needed. As a result, it cannot outrun what it cannot outgun, and it cannot outgun what it cannot outrun, almost entirely across its own peer weight range, or even some mechs in lighter categories. The best thing the SHD-2H has going for it is that it may provide a morale boost to nearby forces, either infantry or other mech warriors, as it takes enough fire to eventually penetrate its armor, and one of its ammunition magazines is hit. The resulting explosion will surely be spectacular, and perhaps as beautiful as the Shadowhawk's appearance itself, and this fireworks display will at least likely result in a short-term boost of morale for its allies as they take in the wondrous view. Thankfully, there are multiple attempts across the ages, with over 20 variants being made with significant alterations to the design to attempt to make the SHD series more usable. Today, we are going to cover 3 of them in an attempt to depict the Shadowhawk as more than just a 55-ton, multi-million C-bill, life-threatening fireworks display. During the Succession Wars, the Federated Sons would make an attempt to transform the SHD series to better suit their needs. The SHD-2D was the result, which criminally reduces its armored protection by 5 tons, making it one of the least armored medium mechs in the setting, giving it comparable physical defenses to that of a 30-ton light mech. With this weight, it adds a second SRM-2 launcher, and an additional medium laser. This mech does succeed in making the Shadowhawk more likely to achieve its objective of becoming a brilliant fireworks display, rather than being a competent combatant. This is likely one of the worst mech designs ever made. The manufacturing of this Battlemech should be a crime, and shows that the Federated Sons clearly can be just as cruel as their Capellan and Draconis neighbors. Another attempt would be made to modernize the SHD, along with many others, this time by the Free Worlds League in 3048. The design that would emerge is the SHD-5M, which would see export around the Inner Sphere due to the clan invasion. This Battlemech is the first truly competent design, at least in my opinion, of the SHD series. It adds an XL engine in order to save weight, though this does create a larger problem with durability. Frankly, it's worth it in exchange for giving the Shadowhawk a chance to perform. To help this further, it installs an endo-steel internal structure. It would upgrade the original AC5 to an Ultra AC5, doubling its output of fire. In addition to this, it would increase its LRM package from an LRM5 to the enormous and deadly LRM20, quadrupling its indirect fire potential. Finally, it would upgrade its SRM2 to an SRM2 Streak. This isn't the end of the benefits either, as new technology was added to keep the system cool in the form of double heatsinks, and it adds a full ton of extra armor, making it more armored than the Dragon Heavy Mech, giving it 10.5 tons in total. Better yet, its jumping ability is increased to 5, making it capable of jumping its full distance. This Battlemech is a fearsome support mech, leaving the realm of jack of all trades, and going full into being a moderately fast, heavy-hitting medium that can blast opponents across the table. This mech would face down the clans during the invasion, and would do so competently. It is the first real Shadowhawk in many ways. The Federated Sons would make another, far more spirited attempt at adding new value to the SHD series in the SHD-5D. This in many ways would become one of the premier models of the Shadowhawk going forward, with the installation of one of the most dangerous weapons of the new technological era, namely the RAC-5. Keeping its standard engine but using endo steel structure, it maintains a higher level of survivability in some respects. It also installs ferrofibrous armor, making it as protected as the 5M but without additional weight, and in addition keeps its double heatsinks. Where it shines is, as mentioned, it installs the powerful rotary AC-5 system, a full 5 jump jets, twin medium lasers, and a streak SRM-4. Despite the loss of its LRM system, which was hardly useful given its small size, this mech can hammer enemies with its powerful gun, and quickly degrade its opposition until they are little more than scrap. The Shadowhawk is a mech which experienced centuries of teething problems, despite being tossed into the front lines of the Star League and Succession Wars. The first day it walked off the assembly line was the first day of issues with the design. Despite all of this, in-universe and among fans, it has held up a reputation, rightly or wrongly. However, all the same, the SHD series would eventually pull itself out of its obscure, uninspired performances with superb retrofits, which would begin to appear in the late 3040s. Though even from there it may not have a perfect track record with certain designs. It would begin to have competitive models appearing, however, and striking as hard and as fast as both Mechwarriors and Commanders envisioned them always doing. Still, the moral of the story is simple. The Shadowhawk, in its unseen form and in its new redesigned form, from the talented people and contractors at Catalyst Games, is one of the most striking mechs ever designed in its appearance. But when seeing its performance, you must remember, for better or for worse depending on the variant being put opposite to your force, looks can be deceiving. Thank you for joining me here today. If you enjoyed this content, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. There's also a YouTube member program that supports this channel as well, and I appreciate the support from members immensely. With that, I will catch all of you in the comments section below. One of its ammunition magazines is hit. The resulting explosion will surely be spectacular, and perhaps as beautiful as the Shadowhawk's appearance itself. And this fireworks display will at least and this fireworks display will at least